Irreverent, entertaining, cool. You're listening to LA Talk Radio.
You're listening to Question Reality with Priscilla Leona, right here on LA Talk Radio.
Vacation. I did no shows for, as most of you know, because I was getting emails in Texas. They thought I died. I'm like, no, I feel like I'm half dead, but I'm not doing any shows. I need a break. I've been doing this show for 14 years. Can you believe it? Time just flies. 2022, 14 years on the show. Well, let me just get into it. Welcome back. Happy New Year, everyone, to the Question Reality Radio Show. As you know, I'm Priscilla Leona, producer and host of this show, and we are coming to you, as always, live from Los Angeles, California. And again, 14 years we've been providing the audience with entertainment industry career advice. That's what we do over here. You want to go into show business? We have people on the show that give you advice and tips and resource information. So this show is for you if you are questioning your career reality about pursuing a career in show business, or if you're already working in the entertainment industry, and again, you just need some tips, some advice, resource information, a little help from your friend. This is what you need to elevate your career status. We are going to try to do that always for you. Now, the guests on our show include, we have Emmy Award winners, we have Grammy Award winners, we have Tony Award winners, we have reality TV stars, and just a wide variety of working show business professionals who work in the industry as film, television, music, radio producers and directors. We have casting directors, we have literary agents, we have casting agents, PR agents, talent managers, we have screenwriters, publicists, actors, comedians, singers, novelists, script supervisors, stunt people, celebrity makeup artists, entertainment lawyers, and the list continues. We try to bring a lot of behind the scenes people on our show, because sometimes people come out here, as I'd say most of the time, people come out here from all over the world, and their dream is to be in front of the camera, make it fantastic. But then a lot of people move out here and they say, oh, I don't want to be an actor. I don't want to be in front of the camera. I want to be behind the scenes. And there are so many jobs that you would find so fulfilling. You think you want to do one career, but sometimes you find the love of your life in a job behind the scenes. So we make sure that we do bring people behind the scenes just in case. Now, if you missed any of our shows, here are 3 ways that you can listen to any of our past shows. Okay, number 1, free mobile apps. Go to Apple, App Store, and the Google Play Store. Get your free mobile app. Number 2, you can listen to us on iHeartRadio, iTunes, Amazon Podcast, Google, Audible, audible.com, Stitcher.com. Just go to Google and Google Priscilla Leona, and my show will be everywhere. Oh, I even have it on YouTube. Yes, slowly migrating all of my shows from 2008 to YouTube. Just another a venue for you to listen. Also, the archive page. So as you are listening now, you can listen directly from the website, latalkradio.com. Look for our show title, Question Reality, or you can look for my name, Priscilla Leona, under the Hosts tab. And we have a favor. As always, we have a little favor to ask you. If you enjoy the show, why would you not want to do this little kind favor that we ask you. Please subscribe to our podcast via either Apple of the other venues that I just sites that I just told you about. And please make sure you give us a little like and a follow on all of our social media pages. That's what it's all about now. You need a little thumb. You need a little help from your friends with a thumb. We are on, of course, typical social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube. Again, under my name, Priscilla Leona, Priscilla Leona. And that, I'm going to just tell you, would be part of my audience tip. And I constantly reiterate this because this is a great opportunity to give you my audience tip. Keep your branding consistent, meaning try to have all your websites and your social media titles exactly the same so that when people Google you, they can find you within seconds. Remember, if you're an actor, a director, producer, writer, dancer, musician, or even if you're not in the entertainment industry, if you're an entrepreneur and you have to think about operating all of the departments that a company would be doing, such as the PR and the marketing and social media, the content building, etc. And you really got to think logically and analytically about how you need to represent yourself and your products, right? So all of your content has to be available for immediate visual and auditory accessibility. Nobody wants to spend, we have a 10-second attention span these days. Nobody wants to spend an hour tracking you down on all your sites because you decide to put all these cute little names with your titles. So that's just the way it is. No one's going to do a deep dive on every page of your website to find what your talent is or what you're showcasing. So please make sure that you remember that. Finally, if you want to be booked on our show to promote and showcase all of your talents, current and upcoming projects, products, or just help listeners by providing much appreciated entertainment industry career advice, you have to go to our official website. Now, listen carefully. Here's where that 10-second attention span comes back in. We need your 10 seconds. You have to go to our official website, which is questionrealityradioshow.com. questionrealityradioshow.com. Not the website that you're listening to us on now, which is obviously latalkradio.com. This is where we air the show. So again, please go to questionrealityradioshow.com. This is where you can see our annual guest schedule. You might want to go there and take a peek at who the upcoming guests are, check out their sites, and that's where you can submit to be booked. You go to the contact link. It's really, really easy and short. All we need is your name, email, title, and website, and that's it. You're a hop, skip, and a jump away from us getting you on the show. Now, this is the most exciting part where we finally do get on with the show. We have a I guess you could say recurring. She's been on here before, and we just absolutely loved her. We said, oh my gosh, we got to have her back on the show. Her name is Chrisi Talyn, and I sure hope I pronounce her last name right. Sage, S-A-J-E, I hope, because usually you would think Sage, S-A-G-E, but it's S-A-J-E, Originality Incorporated. She is an actor, a director, a producer. You might want to go to her website. I highly encourage it. It is MadisonOnTheAir.com. MadisonOnTheAir.com. And she is here to discuss her scripted comedy audio drama podcast, which is called Madison on the Air. Go figure. And it's a really, really cool concept. Okay. It's about this woman named Madison who is zapped from our time period into old time radio dramas. Original, right? Haven't seen that. Haven't seen it. I'm telling you. I've already got you in suspense. It's already, you're suspending right now. So there's no technology, no Starbucks, and no one is PC. I love that most of all. Madison teams up with these radio icons like Sergeant Joe Friday and Marshall Matt Dillon and Superman, and just a whole bunch of characters from back in the day. And the original radio scripts, they've been adapted to give a really, really funny look at the way things were and the way things are today. So isn't that the coolest concept? I mean, I would imagine if somebody went back in time, would they survive? I mean, would they change when they came back? Or does she come back? Does she say, hey, I like it better in those times? I mean, yeah, the questions are endless. You just have to watch it to see. You have to find out by following along the episodes. And new episodes premiere, if I'm correct, she will correct me, on the first of every month, I believe. And again, the website is MadisonOnTheAir.com. MadisonOnTheAir.com. You got to check it out. You got it. I'm telling you, you'll love it. We are going to get some questions out of her career advice. We're going to ask her lots of questions, but I know for sure that we're going to ask her if she could give us, for her career advice, 3 to 5 characteristic traits which are a necessity to be a successfully working actor and filmmaker. People are like, well, it just takes this and it takes that. Well, you know what? You think you know, but then you don't always know, do you? It's always good to gather as much advice as possible, tips to put in your skill set or your toolbox, should we say. We're going to ask her, what are some of the ways to get funding for your projects? Because everybody needs funding for projects, for anything really, but we want to know from her perspective, because she's just a very, very intelligent lady, and she'll give you some really simple, basic ways. We'll ask her, what can filmmakers do to continually motivate themselves amongst naysayers? Because you may have your mother and father and sister and brother and aunt and uncle and grandma tutu boo boo saying, oh, what are you doing? Come back home, come back to Connecticut, come back to Vermont, and you just want to have something to say, right? So maybe she can give us a line to hold them off, right? And then lastly, we'll ask her, how do you successfully market and network yourself and your projects as an actor and filmmakers? Because you have to constantly be networking. So hopefully, without further ado, let's welcome Chrisi to the show again. Welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much for being a return guest. We just loved having you on the show. I believe it was last September, and everybody said we have got to have her back to update us on your comedy audio drama, Madison on the Air, because I believe you are about to celebrate its 1-year anniversary on Tuesday, right?
Yes. I can't believe it's been a whole year since we premiered.
Yes. Oh my God. Now, for those people who don't realize how impressive this is, what Chrisi has done, I'm going to tell you now, it is a super impressive endeavor. I mean, Chrisi, obviously, if you were talking about somebody else who had done this, you'd be impressed too, not only for the obvious reasons of you constantly, not meaning you, but you as a people, finding funding as an ongoing project, which is why most projects die in the water, or you get maybe, 4 or 5 episodes and you're done. But you, Chrisi, you wear so many hats, and you have to keep it going. And people, the path to perfection is just simply, I guess we could say it's a Sisyphean task, because it just keeps coming and coming and coming. You got to keep going. So, Chrisi, please tell us why you decided to create Madison on the Air, and how have you been able to make and keep this wonderful project going?
Well, I came up with the idea. My husband and I worked on this together, but it was my baby that I came up with it October of 2020. So midst of all of the quarantine and everything, my day job is I work at the LA Zoo. And we had gotten closed down for the second time due to the COVID situation. And I, at the time, had been working with a theater company. We were about to produce a play.
Hello, Sam. I can't hear Chrisi. I think she got cut off.
Hi.
Oh,
I
there
didn't
she
move,
is.
I promise.
I know, believe me. I experience this frequently. So go ahead.
I'm not sure how much you caught, but basically, I had been producing some theater for a theater company that we were literally a week away from going up when the initial closing for COVID happened in March. And I was just, and I'm my work closing down again. And I was like, I want to have an outlet for my creative process that will have an audience. I spent the summer, I've written some scripts and stuff, but a lot of times, and I'm sure there are a lot of writers out there who could appreciate, you get to the point where you've written enough spec scripts or film scripts that no one's ever going to see besides you and your computer, that you really you crave an audience reaction. And now I have been a fan of old time radio for a couple decades. And it just, occurred to me about taking these scripts and adapting them into this audio drama format. And being podcasting, still having that opportunity for anyone and everyone to be able to put themselves out there, it was like the perfect platform to have an audience and to reach people instead of it being just me and my computer and my script. So, so we started writing them last October 2020, and I did a lot of research on podcasting and audio drama, and they were basically saying have at least 4 episodes ready to go when you're about to premiere, because if you just premiere one show, people think you're flash in the pan. They don't want to get committed to you, because what if you don't come back? What if you don't produce anymore? So it's kind of like an in-faith kind of opportunity, putting yourself out there. And so I made sure from October till February 1st of last year that we had 4 ready to go and 1 in the can so that it could go the next following month. And we've just been going steadily ever since. We've had a new episode every month.
Now, obviously, I too am a great lover of the old time radio. When I was little, I mean, I'm not that old, but my grandmother, back when in the 70s, they still were doing those murder mystery theaters on radio, and I think it continued into the 80s. Now, with this being a scripted comedy radio, I wouldn't say comedy, scripted radio drama, right? So did you think, who is my ideal audience for this show going to be? Were you thinking about it, or did you think, I'm going to do it and then I'll figure out who I can target? I think anyone would love this particular show, but who do you feel is the ideal audience for the show, or how do you go about finding your audience for this particular? It's a very unique format and concept. So what do you do?
It definitely has been tricky trying to imagine what our branding to the audience would be. I mean, certainly my first outreach was to old time radio fan groups across like Twitter and Facebook, where people already are gathering that like the genre. And I knew it was going to be hit or miss. You know, there are people who are diehards of the original dramas that don't want you to mess with what they've already done, what's already been done. So they don't want this added element. But there are enough people who were drawn to it. And then it's been basically most of my life with marketing has been through Twitter. Twitter is a really big place for podcasters. So if there's anybody out there, whether they want to do an audio drama podcast or you're more traditional, you know, like talk kind of or interview style, go to Twitter and live there because it's a very supportive environment. Everybody is so excited that they're doing something and they're excited you're doing something. So it kind of just started spreading word of mouth through there from other podcasters. And, you know, you get retweets and you know, I've spent the year making sure that I connect to other podcasters in a personal way. Like you don't want to use social media just to like drop your ad and go. It's not personal. Now I do drop an ad every single day on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. But I also engage, and I certainly engage a lot in the Twitterverse, where I comment on other people's stuff or give them a thumbs up or I share their, you know, retweet their things. So, you know, you start to get seen as a person, and they really want you to be a person in the podcast world. And that has gotten me, I've done guest spots on other podcasts, so it's a little cross promotion. One of the things I'm doing going into this new year is I'm going to be doing promo swaps, which is a big way to help, where they give me their promo, I play it sometime during my show, then they take one of my promos and they'll play it to their audience. And a lot of it's a great way to kind of meet new people and reach out to new audiences. And I've been trying to gear it towards people who are similar in tone. Definitely the ones that are maybe more comedy oriented or tongue in cheek, satire, that kind of stuff. But there's a big world of people just clamoring for content out there in podcasting. And, you know, it's just kind of raising your hand and saying, look at me, I'm over here. You can listen to my show. And
I love that. You know what? That has probably been one of the best tips that I've gotten in the whole 14 years of doing this show. No, seriously, promo drops. I don't know why I never thought of that. That is so fantastic. So what you're saying, it's you will contact other people who are doing shows, whether it's podcast or however it may be, because it could be, you could extend to other things, but just for the purposes, they have podcasts. So you will shoot them an email or contact them and say, hey, how would people approach that? Hey, do you write your own ad copy, like a 30-second spot, or do you just have them do it more in an organic way? Like, hey, you know, why don't you check out Madison on the air.com? Or do you write like a 30-second or a minute ad copy and say, hey, would you mind saying it verbatim?
Well, most podcasts will have some sort of trailer promo for themselves. I'm trying to ask people to have it like a minute or less, so it's not super, super long.
Yeah.
And since I'm trying to stay within the tone of old time radio. Now, with the bonus of my show versus maybe some other ones, old time radio was written with commercial breaks.
Right.
So when I'm adapting the script, I just go to where that natural commercial break would have existed. And if anybody out there is an old school television writer, my background with that is I always loved the hint of when you're going to go to commercial break, you leave them with something that is so amazing that they absolutely will have to hang in there until you're back to the show, until the show comes back from commercial. So leave them on that cliffhanger, leave them on that like, ooh, I got to find out what happens next. Okay, I'll listen to the commercial.
I love it.
And I have, so my 1-year anniversary episode, which will be Tuesday. We're excited, so excited. So this is a unique episode for us, and this is going to be the first launching of our promos. I did an episode of yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Now, I don't know if you remember that show or are familiar with it, but back in 1955, they revamped the show and they brought in the actor Bob Bailey, who pretty much across the board, most OTR fans, he is the one. We love him to death. And in this new format, they did it serialized. So Monday would start the episode. They would have a 15-minute episode with a cliffhanger, and you would tune in every day of the week, and then they would resolve on Friday. So it became a 75-minute show. So what we've done is I took one of those episodes. Most of our shows run about 30, maybe 40 minutes if it happens to be a longer one. But this one is an hour and 20 minutes.
Oh.
And I am doing the promo breaks in between what would have been each episode, where they would break and then you would be coming back the next day. So that allowed me to do 4 promo breaks in this very first episode. 2 of them, I reached out. These were people that I've been with and I rewrote some of their material and made it more in an OTR style. But then, like, one of the shows is also an audio drama, and they have a much heavier tone. It's a serious, like, it's a sci-fi, and the music and things that they chose for their own promo, I'm like, it'll be silly if I tried to adapt it. So I just had my lead character, Madison, introduce it and give a little like, hey, I'm stuck in the past and I can't listen to this show, but you can. Here it is, kind of thing.
That's very clever.
This year.
Yeah. That's very clever. And I would imagine that maybe sometimes you could ask a podcaster if they could maybe put a clip like from a scene from your radio drama and just kind of play it as a little teaser. Oh wow, you are so creative and clever and full of ideas. And now you got me thinking, oh, and then she could do this, and then she could you got my wheels turning. I'm like, oh, she could put a part of one of her shows is in the podcast. So yeah, oh my gosh, that's great. And do you ever have any of the actors on any of the other podcasts come on your show to do scenes?
Yes, absolutely. That's another way to do cross promotion. Now, most of I've done interview shows with other people. Like, I had one show called Cult Connections. They're out of Scotland, and he and I just chatted movies for like an hour. So, but it is a chance to get heard by his audience. And I'm located in London. And he is a veteran voiceover actor. I am blessed that he actually does all his work with us for free because I can't pay anybody at the moment.
Yeah.
But it is, when you put yourself out there with a good product, when you show that you can get the work done, you're not asking someone to do work for free and then it just sits forever in post and never sees the light of day. When they know they're going to hurt, that it's not fly by night, you're actually putting a lot of professionalism into the production, people will lend them their time, even when they are at levels where they can get paid for their work. I know this fella, his name is Kareem, and I give him a 3-week leeway, to like, here's the script, get it back to me in 3 weeks. And that way, when his paying jobs come in, he puts me aside and then he can jump back on to finishing up my work. 3 weeks is plenty of time.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. You gotta be a team. And speaking of, now, as you said, you release a new episode. I think the first of every month, and I know you have a team to help you, and I really want to give them credit. I know your husband works with you, but can you tell me, and I'll give them credit. And the big question is, how do you decide to delegate the tasks to make sure that you get each episode completed, because I mean it's a situation, right? You wear many hats.
Yeah, well, production crew wise, it is me, and then my husband does so I write them, I handle all the casting, get all the materials out to people, and I do all the marketing. When I get the material back, I do all the editing. I do a rough edit, you see. Then my husband he's the audio engineer, so he comes in with my rough edit, and he balances all of we're getting microphones from different people across the world. Everything's always just a little different. So his miracle is that he can blend it all together. It sounds the same thing. And he poses to me. We have to have all original music. You know, we don't want to get dinged by any copyright. So he listens to the original series, and then he'll do something within the flavor of that original series. But otherwise, I am doing everything else aside from the actors.
Is he a musician? Yeah. That's you're so lucky.
Yeah, and that's actually one of the benefits. When I thought about this idea and like what does it take to produce a podcast of any level, it's good microphones and some sort of decent editing program. And thankfully, because my husband Jeremy is a musician, he already had this stuff. We already had it in the house. But, if anyone's out there thinking about wanting to do a podcast or an audio drama, don't let the initial costs scare you away. Because you do an inexpensive, decent mic with some of these free recording programs. Like I know GarageBand comes with a Mac. That's a free program that lots of people use. I think Audacity might be a Windows-friendly one. Don't feel like, I have to go raise all this money in order to make this happen. I say the biggest expense I've had is actually a hosting service. Now, they do have free ones, but usually they have some limitations. They require you to advertise them. And that works for some people.
Are you talking about a website hosting service, or are you talking about some other
podcast?
Podcast.
Because you need someone who you upload your audio to their hosting site. You get an RSS feed, and using that RSS feed, then you can send your podcast to every platform. You have to have that RSS feed. So you go to Apple and you say, here's my RSS feed, and then they upload you through that. And then it's nice because then every time you update and you put up a new episode, you update it to your host, and then it gets sent out to the world. So, yeah, it's a necessary thing.
But you are gonna for people, musicians, you do have to. One thing you do have to do. If you don't know how to do this, you have to do research, and you have to figure it out. It's not, or else you're gonna have to get somebody else to do it for you, and then we're back in the same boat. We're gonna have to pay, or you get somebody that's like, I'm excited about it, and then in a couple months they're like, well, I can't really do it anymore. So that is a problem. You do have to
definitely
do research.
A tricky part for casting as well. I know a lot of audio dramas have like a season story arc, and they have multiple characters that continue on the journey through multiple episodes, and you're talking about people who kind of get disinterested pretty quick. You might lose an actor, and that's rough. So I've been lucky that the way I've organized my show, I'm the only repeat character. So I've left it very open for my actors. And I've said to people, when I approach them to do an episode, if they are busy, if life has gotten them busy, just say no. I'm not going to be like, well, I'm never using you again. It's just a matter of, okay, this episode we won't use you. And there are some actors who started off with me back at this time last year who were very gung-ho, and then they just, decided it wasn't for them anymore. And so I've moved on to other actors. But I have that freedom. If you have someone you need to be in every episode, you better make sure that
you better make sure it's yourself. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, what do you feel are the biggest obstacles in doing an audio comedy drama, and how do you overcome those challenges or obstacles?
Well, I would definitely say that the thing they don't tell you is how much more time you have to put into marketing than you do into your creative process. And I love the moment of the month when I'm creating the next script. That's my favorite. I have the one day I dedicate most of a morning to performing it, my end of it. Those are great days, but they're not every day. You find that you kind of get weighted down by the uninteresting, having to come up with something new to say, new to post, new to put out there. And that can be an obstacle because I didn't know anything about Twitter when I started. I'm old girl. I was on Facebook. I was not on Instagram because I'm not a picture like, oh, okay, those are nice, but I don't like hang out on Instagram. So it was a learning curve. It was having to learn that. And I've had some mentors along the way. I really have. And that's all from the podcast community, connecting up with people who were super friendly and they're like, oh, sure, I'll give you some hints on this, and, following their lead in a lot of like how you post, what you should post, what you should say, what you shouldn't say. Cause there's all sorts of like little etiquettes that you need to kind of be aware of. And so it's a learning curve.
Back to that, yeah, and as I said earlier, I mean, you are usually, if you're in the entertainment industry, you are an entrepreneur, whether you realize it or not. You have to do things to promote yourself. You have to do you have to be your own administrative assistant. You have to be your own accounts payable and receivable. So you've got to get in that business mentality. It may not be the fun, creative part, the exciting part, but if you don't do that, if you don't have anybody to do it for you, you have to do it yourself, because if you don't, then you're not going to go anywhere. Back to the podcast situation, you said very important to have a venue to do podcasts. I found a lot of times when I go to listen to podcasts, they have so many advertisements. A lot of times you lose an audience because the site has so much. How do you choose a good one?
Well, I did a heck of a lot of research about podcasting before we launched. And one of the things that I've stuck to is just get yourself on every platform you possibly can. The more platforms you're on, the more reach you have. And yes, there are definitely some of those smaller podcast platforms that will put a lot of ads on their app or on their page, on the webpage, but it doesn't interrupt your show. They're not going to break in and interrupt your show. It's just something people have to scroll through, and that's their choice. That person has chosen to use that platform for whatever reason, so it's not on you. But I do believe in getting out there as much as possible. And like I mentioned with the RSS feed, when you put your podcast out there, usually it's through Apple, as they are still the biggest. And Apple is available on non-Apple items, devices. People need to be aware of that as well. But once you're up on Apple Podcasts, your RSS feed can be taken by other platforms. So I have showed up on podcast platforms that I didn't even know about. I didn't know this place existed, but they're trying to build their own audience, so they're grabbing as much RSS as they can. So, which is fine. It's fine. I'm getting more reach that way. But that's how you end up on ones that maybe have a lot of ads on their actual site.
Mm-hmm. And if you're on the Apple podcast, there's no charge for that. Apple doesn't charge you for that, right? Right. It's free.
You only are charged through your host. Your host is the only one you pay. And there are all different kinds of hosts, all different kinds of payment plans of what you want. And I said there are a few that are free. They do tend to require you to run an ad for their service as a trade-off. But there certainly are. But no, once that's the benefit, I think, of podcasting right now. It's all material, and to have everything there that they absolutely do not charge to put you up there. Now, some of them might put a couple extra obstacles in the way, like iHeartRadio, Pandora, that takes a little bit of like you submit and kind of sit there waiting to see, are they going to put me up or not? You know,
You're right.
Nobody, you do not have to pay for that.
Yeah.
And
so
even YouTube's a great place too.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm actually in the process of migrating all of my radio shows up there. It's audio, but it's just another venue to get exposure. So why not? My goodness, everybody knows YouTube. Okay, so I understand that you're offering an e-newsletter and that you're giving out free stickers to anybody who signs up. So, first question, what's going to be in the e-newsletter and what kind of free stickers are you giving out?
Well, again, with marketing, I've been running an e-newsletter where we twice a month on the first of the month when our new episode airs, and then we have a bonus feature that comes out on the 10th of the month, which is to support the episode that just premiered. So I send 2 out a month. I won't spam you, I promise. But it's just, it gives you sneak peeks. Like you'll get to hear the trailer for the next episode 10 days before it is actually put out to the world. And one of the big projects that I have through the e-newsletter is my character Madison, her story, how she went back into the past, was she was working on a blog. So I have created a blog for her. Now, it's behind the scenes. It's going to hear all about just we've come through, just little helpful hints, all sorts of fun things. And it's only available through the e-newsletter. So that is the only place you can get any of those fun stuff. And then I promote the cast. I will share links to all the cool stuff they're doing. So it's usually the cast that is in the current episode. You can be like, oh, I love that person. Hey, they also did a Doctor Who podcast. That's cool. And you can link on over. And so for my incentive to hopefully get more people excited about my e-newsletter, it is a promo swag sticker for our logo for Madison on the Air. It is people, we share them. It's like baseball cards or something. We all have one. We all share with each other and send them off to each other. Great for water bottles and backpacks and fun things. So that will be a free gift when you sign up. You just put in your address and a comment.
Hey, that's good to know. And they can get that by going to the website, MadisonOnTheAir.com. And I believe it's on the press page, right?
It's on every page.
It's on every page.
I didn't want you to miss it.
Well, that's good. Now, so what, I guess, I know that we talked about this just briefly. I know that you're also a passionate animal lover as well, and you work for a company called For the Love of Rescues. Are you still doing that? And if so, can you tell us about your role in the organization?
Well, that was my charity project that I started 17 years ago, where I produced a wall calendar featuring rescue dogs to benefit rescue dogs. And the 2022 calendar actually was the first year we added cats as well. And I work with rescue groups all across the country. I'm a fundraising tool for them. So it's a lot of small mom and pop groups that maybe can't afford to have their own, calendars printed because they're expensive if you don't do them in bulk. And I do them in bulk, so I'm able to keep the price down per calendar. And everything above cost, I send to the groups. 2022, we do have some available yet. They're $5 each if anyone's interested.
I want one.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
You got your first sale.
That website is fortheloveofrescues.com. And that's all spelled out normal, nothing fancy, no numbers or anything. It's just fortheloveofrescues.com. But this might be my last year doing it. Sadly, I have seen, it's just kind of the way of life. Not a lot of people use paper calendars anymore.
I know.
Back when I started, they were all the rage still, but
I love paper calendars, but you're right. I said, I was talking to, I don't know, somebody, and I said, I think I'm going to send out calendars to because I own a website design company. And I said, I think I'm going to send out some calendars. And he said, nobody wants calendars, Priscilla. Think of something else. I'm like, what? I love calendars. But yeah, I heard that. I was very disheartened by that. I love a little calendar.
Well, I started the project. It's called For the Love of Rescues because back when I started in 2005, there were a lot of like, for the love of golden retrievers, for the love of poodles. And they were all these like perfect pictures of purebreds. And so I came up with For the Love of Rescues to represent all the other dogs in the world, all the mixed breeds, the old dogs, the young dogs, the one missing an eye, all that kind of stuff. And it's been a good experience. I've met some wonderful animal people along the way, shared amazing stories. The back of the calendar, actually, I have the happy ending stories of the animals from each month, and it'll make you cry sometimes.
I think everybody needs to go to the website because this will be a collector's item.
There you go.
Last year, you got to go for the love of rescues.com to get your last calendar, which will be a collector's item. Real quick, we got to ask these questions. Can you name 3 to 5 characteristic traits which are very different from skills or education you might have? Characteristic traits that you feel are necessary, which are a necessity to someone being a successful working actor or filmmaker in this business.
Mind is be on time. There is a level of professionalism that you bring to every project if you are on time. And if that's on time for a due date, if that's on time for a call time, if that's on time for anything, you need to be punctual with that. I definitely have seen that with my actors with Madison over the last year, the people who I can trust to turn around and give me, I said, I give a 3-week lead time. I'm not asking for you to drop everything and do it tomorrow. And if 3 weeks is somehow, life is getting in the way and you're not being able to do it, I'm probably going to use somebody else next time because I'm on a production schedule. I'm trying to get things done on my end. And if you turn stuff in late, it pushes everything back. And that's true of everybody.
Absolutely.
In any aspect of the industry.
Absolutely.
And I'm trying to bring yourself to the plate. You're putting yourself out there as a performer. It's hard because like every audition is like a job interview every single time. You're always doing job interviews. You're trying to put your best foot forward, but it is really, you got to suck it up and be as professional as you know how to be so that people feel comfortable because they're trusting a lot of money and time to you. So, and if that means, when you do your audition or when you like certain recordings I get back, sometimes people are having fun and they're goofing around, but if it gets a little too out of hand, I'm like, I have to listen to all of their goofing around before it gets to the next line that I need to work with. That gets a little aggravating, when I'm trying to do my turn, that element of it. But just understand that time is money in this industry, and you need to value people's time by being as professional as possible.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know if I have anything else to come to mind.
That's it. We'll leave it at that. We'll leave it at you gave enough tips to last a lifetime to everyone. But yeah, absolutely, because time is money, and if it's not, if you're not worried about your money, then worry about another person's money. And that spreads. You'll get blacklisted. Don't get blacklisted if you're not on time and you don't listen to Chrisi. Get blacklisted in this business. Very hard to get another job. Well, I tell you, I am excited as everyone else is to take the rest of Sunday night and go and listen to your podcast. So our time has come to an end. You and I get on the phone, we could talk for 5 hours. I'm telling you.
I know.
You are just the best conversationalist that I've probably ever had on the show. No offense, everybody. But thank you so much for always giving us great advice and putting out a great comedy audio drama podcast. And I want everyone to go and to give Chrisi Talyn Saje a little thumb up. Go to all her social media sites. She's on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube and it's consistent. Oh my gosh. She's my golden girl for consistency. When I was giving my tip earlier, my audience tip about keeping it consistent, you can find Chrisi at Madison on the Air. On Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube. I don't know on Twitter. I didn't have you that.
Same thing on Twitter. Same thing on Twitter.
Yes. At Madison on the Air. Go there, please. Give her a follow. Give her a thumb. Support her. We all need help and support in this business. And like she said, you do something for her. Hey, you can say, hey, Chrisi, I gave you a thumb up. What can you do for me? She'll be there, right? Oh my gosh. Well, I'm excited. And everybody, please go to her website also and get your free e-newsletter and your free sticker. You gotta have that. All right. So we're excited to say goodbye because we're going to jump on the computer and listen to MadisonOnTheAir.com. And thank you. And we hope that we hear more good stuff. Hopefully you'll come up with maybe another project next year. And we'll just listen to that too. Right, Chrisi?
Yeah, I just need more hours in the day. That's
more hours. Yeah, you need 48 hours each day. All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for listening. Please, again, go to at Madison on the Air. And please go to the website now and listen. And we will see you soon. Say goodbye to your fans, Miss Chrisi.
Thank you so much, everybody, and thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next week. Bye.
You're listening to Question Reality with Priscilla Leona, right here on LA Talk Radio.